The third stage in the design process is called develop. And the aim of this phase is to come up with ideas and find solutions that work. It's a pretty big phase, but all of the thorough work you've done already has led you to this point. Looking again at the process, you've finished Discover and done your user research. You've looked more closely at the challenges and defined the area to focus on, and you've hopefully got a set of how might we statements. And now we're going to move into develop. We're going to use those how might we statements to come up with ideas and solutions, and we're going to build prototypes and start testing them. There are a range of methods to use with this step, and all of these are included in the toolkit. One I really like to do is called Rapid 8s. It's a very simple process to come up with ideas quickly, and I'll talk more about this method later on. User journey mapping, prototyping, I'll be talking more about this later, and finally, low-cost or free digital tools. In your toolkit, you'll find a list of some recommended and easy-to-use digital tools that may be useful to you when it comes to testing out ideas and solutions. This phase is all about ideation, and ideation is a process for coming up with ideas. There are many ways that you can come up with ideas during this phase, but what's really important is that you create a space for creative thinking. Consider the environment. Make it collaborative. Bring in different skills and a diversity of voices. And share the discovery findings. It's really important that everyone involved in ideation is aware of the work that's come before. If you remember in the previous presentation, I was sharing an example with you around how young people were failing to attend their first online counselling sessions. The problem was that young people would book appointments but then not show up. During discovery, some of the young people told us that they didn't turn up because they felt anxious. Others said they simply forgot, and others said they didn't feel comfortable being on camera. And during Define, we turned these themes and insights into a set of how might we statements. Some of these were, how might we help young people to feel less anxious about attending their first appointment? How might we help young people to know what to expect before their first appointment? How might we ensure young people remember their appointment time? And finally, how might we help young people to feel comfortable to be on camera? And now that we're in the develop phase, we'll use these statements to generate ideas. And to do this, you could run an ideas generating workshop, and there are many ways to do this. One exercise I like to use is called Rapid 8s, and it's very simple. Give everyone a piece of paper and get them to fold it over twice. When you open up the paper, you'll have 8 sections. And then for each how might we statement, you task your team to come up with as many ideas as possible in a short amount of time, 1 idea per box. And the reason we ask for 8 ideas is because this encourages us to think beyond the obvious solutions. It encourages innovation. Once you have a range of ideas, you'll need to choose which ones to test. There are a couple of things to consider here. One important consideration is which idea or ideas fit within the constraints and scope of the project. Some of the ideas may be too long or too time-consuming to attempt within your current project resources. Another thing to consider is which ideas will have the most impact and best meet your users' needs. Now you need to move your ideas into prototypes. And a core service design principle is to start small. The aim is to come up with a simple way to test your idea out to see if it works. We call this lo-fi prototyping, drawn on paper, rough and ready, and tested with service users. I'm going to walk you through our example. So how might we help young people to feel less anxious about attending their first appointment? After running an ideation session, one of the ideas we agreed on was to create a case study video of what happens during an online counselling appointment and send this to the young person beforehand. Our expectation is that this will alleviate some of the anxiety around not knowing what to expect. So how are we going to test this idea? Before we create a case study video, we need to see if it'll work. A really easy way to test this idea is to write up a script or a storyboard for the video. Read through this storyboard or script with a young person and ask them for their feedback at each point. Ask them, would this be helpful? And importantly, would this help them to feel less anxious prior to an online appointment? Another challenge question was, how might we ensure young people remember their appointment time? The proposed solution for this is very simple. Send them a text reminder the day before. What's the smallest possible way you can test this idea? You might set up a control group, text half of the young people the day before, and see if more of them turn up. This is a simple way to see if your idea works. And once you've gained success from your lo-fi prototypes, you'll then develop your ideas further. You may want to combine your ideas so that they form part of the same service. This is where you could use a user journey map to show what the ideal journey would look like for a young person as they move through the service. In this example, a young person signs up to attend an online counselling session. They're sent a virtual welcome pack full of friendly information on what to expect, complete with a case study video. And then they receive a text message reminder the day before. And this is greatly improved from what existed previously. We've covered a lot during this presentation. Finally, I'd like to share with you some principles to help you to continue to develop or iterate your ideas. Start small and build from there. You're aiming for service improvement. It's unlikely to be perfect, but it's better. And from here, you'll continue to iterate and develop your service. And importantly, you have to create a set of measures so that you can monitor what works. So by the end of this phase, you'll have a working prototype. Unless you have a working prototype, you can't move on to the next phase. You'll have demonstrated service improvement and proved a concept. You'll have come up with an idea and proved that it works.